The Bar A70, this was quite different from the products that came before, in that we had the subwoofer optimized both as a balance between practicality but also cinema experience. So the subwoofer in the A70 is the size that it is the weight that it is, and the driver is the size that it is, because it was specifically designed to achieve the lower end of what you'd want to be able to hear when you're listening to cinema, so for movies and so on. So the subwoofer actually extends to roughly 40 hertz. Below that, the dishes in your kitchen start to shake, but at that frequency, it's just on the limit of what's very impactful and provides you a very sort of thrilling and exciting experience. But it isn't too low as to be distracting and kind of, I guess, unpleasant. But that's why it's the size it is. So the bar itself is also quite different to the products that came before it. It was optimized for the thinnest form factor possible in order to achieve a given low mid frequency response. If we went smaller than the Bar A70, we'd have to use smaller drivers. And the trouble is, with using smaller drivers, you start to increase the lower frequency limit of your soundbar, which means your subwoofer has to reproduce a wider range of frequencies. And the trouble is that crossover frequency between your subwoofer and your bar, it has a big impact as to where you place the soundbar relative to your subwoofer. Ideally, you want them in exactly the same position, but if you have the crossover lower in frequency where the wavelengths are much larger, you can place your subwoofer further away from your bar. So the A70 soundbar was really designed to get that optimal balance between being able to achieve good reproducible sound from the soundbar itself without a subwoofer. And in fact, if you switch the subwoofer off, you still get good quality sound, but also meaning that you can place the subwoofer wherever you want without having to worry about significant and deleterious effects from cancellations. The A60 is very similar to the A70, except that it's not as wide, it's a bit narrower. And the width of the A70 was actually chosen to be the optimal width for air sound. And this comes back to the university studies that were done a few years ago, where we discovered that 0.7 of a meter or roughly 0.7 is a really good width to achieve the spatial envelopment associated with air sound for the typical listening